Hello. History might appear to be a boring subject to some of us, but it is indeed a subject of interest for many. Our today's guest is one such person who has chosen history and specifically archaeology as his main subject for study and research. Dr. Shrinand Bapat is a well-known historian and archaeologist. He has completed his masters in AIHC and archaeology. Also, he has done his MA and PhD in Sanskrit. With his education and qualification in varied fields, he has been working on various important positions in some of the esteemed organizations. Dr. Bapat shoulders the responsibility of registrar and curator in the well-known Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute. He is also the managing director at Annals of Bori, that is Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute. His extraordinary portfolio includes 56 research papers, editing of 8 books, and authoring of 2 books. His archaeological research is a feather in his cap with 17 copperplate inscriptions and 3 stone inscriptions discovered and deciphered. He has been invited for an international workshop on Sanskrit prosody conducted at Bucharest, Romania in 2012. Dr. Bapat has been a part of many programs on All India Radio for various topics in Sanskrit, ancient Indian history and culture. Today, he will share his experiences and his expert views on education and various opportunities in history and culture. Let's talk to Dr. Shrinand Bapat.
The very moment that you started your machine and are watching this video has become a past. It has gone into history now. What I mean to say is that we should look at history in a comprehensive manner. Everything that has occurred prior to this current moment is history for this moment. So it may be right from the evolution of man or rather the evolution of universe or even prior to that till the last moment. Now what has changed during the last decade in the field of history is that there is a lot of IT, there is a lot of technology that has come into vogue. Now for instance, there are various sources of history that have become available during the last decade. For instance, the akhbars, that is the news reports of the court of Aurangzeb have become available from the British Museum. Now they were lying there for almost 2 centuries, but they were not available, they were not even known to anybody. But now the fact is that due to the efforts of Bharat Itihas Soshodhak Mandal, they have become available on the internet for free. Now these akhbars of the Darbar of Aurangzeb are a very prime source of history of his time. Similarly, there are so many documents that are being declassified, they are coming out. There are many sources which are coming up on the internet. They are coming up in even popular media like the Wikipedia, etc. So there is an explosion of information. And now we are the people who should look into these original sources and draw our history for ourselves. Now we should not look at history in a very, concentrated manner like the history of our district, maybe our state, our country and so on and so forth. History is everything that is in past. So just as you have the names of say Grand Duff or say William Jones or maybe George Buehler and many other historians which are taken for the history of India as the scholars of history of India. So the opposite is very much necessary, that about the history of say South America or North America, Europe, Africa, there should be some Dr. Nagarkar or Dr. Deshmukh or Dr. Kamble who should be the person of authority. So that's how our vision should be. Now this change is also slowly occurring. There are students from India who have graduated from the universities in the West particularly and who are writing on the histories of those countries. So, the others writing on our history is a different thing, and now we are writing the history of the world, and that should be our outlook. Now, the traditional professions that were available in the field of history, like from primary teacher to university professor and maybe researcher, professional researcher, these were available for the last about 2 centuries, and they are available even today. But beyond that, there is a lot of opportunity that is being available just now through the funding of the CSR of various companies and many other sources. Now, there are research projects that have come up even in this city, in Pune city and around also, which are running through the CSR of the companies. And there are multidimensional research projects that can be taken up in this field. It is not just one university or one institution, but there are collaborations between the universities, collaborations between countries, collaborations between cities that are creating so many opportunities in the field of research also. Now, there is another field that is opening. You see, there are the curiosity about history, the curiosity about the past in the public mind is increasing, and there is hardly any chance that it will decrease in future. So, you will find so many YouTube programs, channels, Facebook pages and all, and such other media, as also various TV channels and all, which are producing vigorous programs on the past, that is on history. Now, there is immense chance for a serious scholar of history or a serious student of history, because many a time you find that these people, they go on talking, but they do not quote any source. They talk whatever they like, they talk whatever they understand, and then it has hardly any authenticity. So, authenticity is a very important issue in this field, and which can be handled only by a historian. So, a historian, a serious historian, has immense scope in this field as well. Now, another field is the field of tourism. It will sound popular, I know, but still tourism has got immense potential for historians. Now, the point is that you will find that there are several guides who show things, and even while listening to them, one understands that he is talking something that he likes, but it may not be true. But a true historian also has to look seriously into these things, and maybe he will not himself work as a guide, but he may train people, and training good guides is also a job of a historian, and there are immense possibilities in this field. Traditionally, if we look at this problem, then one would certainly suggest that after 10th, go to arts, have your 10th, 11th and 12th, do your graduation and post-graduation and maybe PhD later on. But as we have discussed, everything will have its own history. So, it is not just a political history or social history or economic history or the like. You will have the history of science, you will have the history of commerce, you will have the history of, say, music, you will have the history of mathematics and so many other fields. So, you will have to choose what history you want to learn and what history you want to work in. Now, if you choose to work in the history of science, you will have to know science. If you want to know the history of management, you will have to know management first of all. For history of law, you will have to know law. That is the point. So, it is better to know all these fields and also master the one that you want to work in. Previously, it was the case that people used to go to 11th arts, 12th arts and then graduate, post-graduate and PhD like myself. But today, if you ask me, I will suggest that if it is possible, please opt for science till 12th. Because it is possible to come from science to arts, but it is not possible otherwise. You can't do it otherwise. From arts, you cannot come to science. But if you are aware of the science of the level of 12th, it is certainly useful in future. So, that is why if it is possible, I will suggest to opt for science till 12th and then go for graduation in history and the fields allied. Now, this question is about the courses of graduation and post graduation and maybe the further studies. Now, in graduation normally what we have is one special subject. Say you take special history, then you may take a paper of geography, a paper of maybe political science, and of course there is a compulsory English paper. Now, what you have to do is to actually learn maybe ancient India, medieval India, modern India, then ancient world, medieval world, modern world, maybe the history of Maharashtra and such other things. And then you specialize and go to your third year graduation and also your post graduation in history. Swami Vivekananda had said that books are useless till your own book opens. So, you may have a lot of information around you, but your book should be open. You should collect everything, but then go to your own field using all these fields and working in your own field. The point is that if you want to study, as we said, say the history of management or say the history of science, say the history of commerce, you should know these subjects very well, and so you have to entirely look into all these things. You cannot drop anything, you cannot give option to anything that I am not going to study this, at least at the primary level. So, knowing everything is very important, and then choosing one's own stream is the real key to this problem. Now, that is why while studying history, you should take as much knowledge possible of all the streams around, and then go for history and look at all the streams comparatively, and also you should find similarities and dissimilarities and build up your own, you say, database or your own know-how in your field. So, that is the key to the problem. Now, fortunately, in all the colleges, particularly arts colleges, there are history departments. So, they have the history departments which give the courses in graduation, and also then you can enter the university for post graduation. In all the universities, like in colleges, there are history departments, and many a time you will find that the history department has got initiated right at the inception of the university or right at the inception of the college. So, there are history departments in all institutions. Of course, there are no history departments in the science stream and no history departments in the commerce stream, particularly because what they have to teach and learn is about the current science and about the current commerce. So, history is not their mainstream subject, but anyhow they teach history as, you see, an allied subject or maybe indirectly. So, it is there in all colleges particularly. Now, today's arrangement is that after 10th you will have to go to 11th and 12th, then 3 years of graduation and 2 years of post graduation. We do not know what is going to happen in the new educational policy. Maybe just like in the past, it is going to be 11th matriculation, then 2 years, and then post graduation. But whatever it may be, the point is that all the arts colleges have history departments and also the universities. So, there are ample chances. A second thing that I should mention is that all these courses are available in external mode if you cannot actually attend the college and or the university. And similarly, there are courses in the distant mode which are available in history. Of course, they will be there in the traditional form of history only, but they are available. So, there are ample chances to study history. Now, you have to determine at which level you are going to teach. By level, I do not mean low level and high level or things like that. If a primary teacher is teaching excellent history, then he is better for me than a university or college teacher who is not teaching or who is teaching badly. Now, uh, for education or for being teacher till the junior college level, that is 12th standard, you will have to require, you will have to take your D.Ed or B.Ed or M.Ed if possible till that level. Now, above that, in graduation, you will have to be having your NET examination cleared, and then off and on the UGC imposes the condition of PhD and it removes the condition. So, that will be there in the higher education, so in colleges and in universities. Uh, Recently, the UGC had applied this condition of PhD. Recently, the UGC had imposed this condition of PhD, but as of now, it seems that it has been removed, but it may be imposed in future also. Now, first thing is that you should know the language or the languages and the scripts in which the original sources of history are available. Now, if it is the history of, say, the Americas, if it is the history of Europe, if it is the history of the Middle East, China, you should know entirely the sources of that history and you should be able to decipher those sources. Let us not go away. Let us take the case of the Maratha history. Now, the documents about the Maratha history are available in Marathi, in Modi script, in Marathi in Devanagari script, in Persian, in French, Dutch, English, Portuguese and many other languages. You should know these languages, you should know these scripts, you should understand them properly. Only then you can build up the history of the Marathas properly. Now, the second thing is that you should have a good interpretative mind. You should be able to interpret these things properly. For instance, we know that Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj fled from Agra and very quickly he came back to Rajgarh, and that was in 25 days only. This is very thrilling, no doubt about it. And it is also quite laborsome, but that is not all. You see, he must have actually done so many efforts in order to turn the noblemen of the Mughal court towards himself. So, what were those efforts? Otherwise, it was not possible to build a chain of supplies and all to come to Rajgarh in 25 days. That was not easy, you see. Now, the Mughal Empire was till the Pune district. So, he had to cross all the Mughal territories. And in order to do that, a lot of what we can say fielding was to be placed in the Mughal court itself. So, his skill in placing that fielding is what we do not study, and that should be studied. So, you should have analytical mind, you should be able to read between the lines, not just lines, between paragraphs, between books, I will say. Now, I will give another example. We normally study wars, and suppose if there is a cavalry of 10,000, so how much of iron would they require for the horseshoes, for the nails? How much of fodder would the horses require? How much of grain? How much of jaggery? What would be the expenses on the army altogether? On the wages, on the medicines, on the supplies and all. So, you should be able to analyze all these things, all such things, and then there is a possibility that you will be able to understand and build a comprehensive history. So, among soft skills, analytical mind is the most important thing, and that can be built. It is not that everybody will have an analytical mind, but by practice one can analyze so many things. Normally, what we have listened about history, all the things apply to archaeology as well. Now, what is the difference between history and archaeology? History is based on the written record or the written word, whereas archaeology is based on the artifacts of the human being. So those artifacts may be that of stone, maybe stone tools. Okay, so from stone till glass, till maybe copper, bronze, iron, gold, and also terracotta. So all the artifacts that the human being has produced, all of them become the subject matter of archaeology. History is based on the written sources of history, and archaeology is based on the unwritten sources of history. Now about education. Normally there is no course of graduation in archaeology. All the courses are that of post graduation, and they are available in various universities. So you can do your graduation in history and post graduation in archaeology and also PhD in archaeology. I have done my post graduation in archaeology at the Deccan College in Pune. But there are various departments of universities, and even the Archaeological Survey of India offers some courses in archaeology. Now, what you require for research in archaeology is that you should have a license from the Archaeological Survey of India, and you should also have a license from the collector of that particular district. Otherwise, what you are going to do is you are going to explore and excavate in the land which is not owned by you. So you should have a license which is given by the Archaeological Survey and also the collector of the district. Unless and until you have these two things, you won't be able to work. But you can apply for that and get it. That's a normal practice. Now, if somebody enters into a government job or a government granted job, say maybe of a primary teacher or a secondary teacher, or maybe a university or college professor, then he or she will have the grade that the government offers normally, and it will be at par with anybody else. Now, if it is a project from a private funding or from a company CSR, then the things are negotiable. Of course, the emoluments cannot be very less, because the funding agency knows that if the funding is too low, then the person is not going to be able to work. But if it is too high, then also he may be driven away from working actually. So normally they keep a good funding, good emoluments can be received satisfactorily. So there is no problem, and things are negotiable. So it is according to what you propose and what they agree to, and normally it goes on amicably. So there is no problem. Normally what we perceive history as is a romantic subject. So there are so many thrilling things that one comes across. Now that is true particularly to the, say, history of grade 4 or grade 7, which is really thrilling history, and it has been made so in order to inculcate the love of your country, the love of your state in your mind. But all the history is not like that. Now we are talking about the akhbars from the court of Aurangzeb. You may find that you have read tens of akhbars and have really got nothing. There is no new information, there is no piece of history in those 10 akhbars, but still you have to read them. There may be documents, there may be books in which you come across nothing new, but still you have to go through them in order to be sure that you have read them and you are not ignorant about them. Same is the case about archaeology. Now let me just tell you an instance in my studenthood. As a student, I was working at an excavation in which I was to supervise 6 trenches. There were so many trenches, but I was to supervise 6. In 4 trenches, we were getting good material. So we were getting pottery, we were getting bones, we were getting small antiquities and many such things which were quite satisfactory. But in 2 trenches, we were getting nothing else but burnt cow dung. But you cannot neglect it, you cannot throw it away. You have to examine even the burnt cow dung properly to prove that it is burnt cow dung only and nothing else. And then you have to interpret what this burnt cow dung must be. why it must be there. So, patience and perseverance is the real challenge that a historian will face, because there will be days together, there may be months together in which he does not come across anything new, but still he has to continue with his study, and the moment he gets something, then he should be able to catch it. So, patience and perseverance is the real challenge before any historian. Competition is a part and parcel of today's life. There is no field which does not have competition. Even fields like, say, engineering or maybe medicine, which were supposed to be extremely lucrative in the past, have not remained that lucrative today. No engineer or doctor will have his career as a ready plate before him. So, if that is the case of such fields that were supposed to be quite lucrative, why should a historian or an archaeologist expect to have a ready-made career before him? You should not expect that. There is competition in every field, and it is so in history and archaeology as well. But if you continue to study, have patience and perseverance, and then catch your moment of discovery, of delivery, then that is going to build your career. So, my best wishes for your bright career. Thank you.
Summary. What is history? Everything occurred prior to this current moment is history. Changes in last decade, introduction of IT or technology, various sources of history became available, explosion of information on social media, our vision or outlook. Most of the scholars of Indian history are from other countries. Now, Indians should write the history of other countries. Professions in history, traditional, primary teacher to university professor, researchers, new opportunities, research projects under CSR funding of different companies, collaborations between universities or countries, YouTube channels, TV channels produce programs based on history where a historian may be required for authentic sources. Historian can train guides in tourism field. Eligibility. Choose the stream based on which area in history is to be studied. Suggestion. Choose science after 10th standard and then pursue graduation in history. After 12th, graduation for 3 years, post-graduation 3 years. Universities. All arts colleges in all the universities have history department. Modes of learning. Offline, traditional, external or distant learning. Education requirements for a historian. Teaching till 12th standard, D.Ed, B.Ed, M.Ed is required. Teaching UG students, NET examination, PhD required. Languages in which original sources of history are available should be learnt. Soft skills, good interpretative and analytical mind is required. Difference between history and archaeology. History is based on written sources. Archaeology is based on artifacts produced by humans, unwritten sources. Education in archaeology. Post-graduation in archaeology can be done in various departments in the university or in Archaeological Survey of India. Requirements for research in archaeology. License from Archaeological Survey of India and from the collector of the district. Challenges, patience, perseverance and competition.